Hello everyone, my name is RagingRaptor and I welcome you to a new World of Tanks video, and today I want to do more of a Raptor talk, just talk about the topic of today's video. Wargaming's broken understanding of balancing. Again, this video is not to be supposed to shit on Wargaming or anything, it's just what I personally feel as a community contributor as well as a customer of their product. I just feel like they do not really understand what at least the Western world wants to have when it comes to balancing. Now, my hypothesis is that, well, the issue is that they take so long for balancing something is that there are three major things holding them back, or that they are holding back themselves. So, the first idea is that they want to make the balancing update marketing. They just want to market the balancing update and make themselves look in the good light, in the bright light, in the best light. Because at the moment, we are just kind of stuck in a position. We had 2 months ago got information, E100 is getting finally buffed, IS4 is finally getting buffed, and E5 is finally getting buffed. Like 2 or 3 weeks later, we got the information, Progetto and 430U as well as 430 are getting nerfed. And Wargaming, on countless episodes of Q&As, they said, yes, we are working on an EBR nerf for at least the tier 10 vehicle because it is overperforming. Now, me personally, and I think a lot of people out there in the community would love to see Wargaming doing something different, like that they just would send out the updates or the buffs and nerfs they already have ready on the next update. Like for me personally, I would have wished to already seen some balancing changes for the E100, for the IS4 and the E5 already on the 1.9.1 update. I do want to point out that Wargaming was able to change, buff and nerf lower tier tanks in update 1.9.1, which is a great thing, I have to say. Again, well done, double thumbs up, and please keep this going. In general, I really wish that Wargaming would continue having all the time in every single update a little bit of a balancing update. But again, right now I'm just sitting here and asking myself, the IS4 and the E100 buffs for the line and for the tanks themselves, they looked reasonably good. Like they looked fairly okay. The E5 buffs, they were a little bit on the wonky side. Plus, as far as I know, some of the American community contributors during a live stream with one of the devs did point out, hey, many people love the Renegade, why not try to make the E5 like the Renegade? It would also make sense in the progression line of those tanks. And the dev said, good idea. We are just giving it forward to Artyom, which is doing balancing update or balancing stuff. Like, this is good. Again, it's good that they are listening to people, especially from the community contributor part, and it's in general from the community. But on the other hand, I also have to say, come on, did you really not thought about this to maybe make a tank which is like the Renegade, which is kind of liked by a lot of people, and thinking, oh yeah, it basically plays like an E5, so why is the E5 much slower in the reverse speed, etc, etc, etc. But again, they could have easily shipped the IS4 and the E100 buffs with update 1.9.1, I think, because there aren't really that many changes except for armor values. And again, me as a person which is outside of the development process in World of Tanks and how things are actually programmed and balanced, I personally just think in the end they have a special Excel sheet for each individual tank, and they could just put some numbers in to, for example, change the DPM, change the penetration rate, and if they want to change the armor model, they have to fire up their engine for armor modeling and just open it up and make the value, for example, in the E100 from 250 millimeters to 300 millimeters, which they, as far as I know, did to the turret ring. Like, they could have done it easily, but they simply didn't, and it's the kind of the thing which I have the feeling was like last year with the STB1, with the Leopard 1 and the Kranwagen series, where they just had one big balancing update and said, hey guys, look, we listened to you, and that's why you get now this awesome and huge balancing change. Don't you like that? That is like my first impression why I think they don't want to ship out every single update some balancing, because they kind of want to market this update as like balance 2.0, amazing things, we buffed finally tanks. And again, for some people this might be like, oh, congratulations Wargaming, you are buffing stuff. But for people which are more involved with the game, it just feels like, really Wargaming, you really have to pat yourself so on the back on something people were asked to get buffed for like 2 years, and you or like put it back because of the ammunition changes. You know, this is just my opinion. For a broad majority of the people, this is like good marketing. Like they say, oh yeah, you don't look amazing, balancing, blah, 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 blah. And it's great, it's only one update. But again, when you want to look at the balancing of the game or like the longevity of a game, it would be much better if they would do every single update some changes. It doesn't matter. And here we go to the second point, which it's kind of an interpretation thing from one of their Q&As, where they said basically they do want to do some changes to 1 or 2 tanks and then leave it at that. So basically what I understood from this idea is that Wargaming just wants to buff, like, so let's say they just want to buff the 1-to-1 to make it a little bit more competitive, and that's it. They just want to buff it and then they want to leave it. Wargaming, I personally think that this is not how a massive multiplayer online game should be handled when it comes to the balancing update. For me personally, as an external person, it feels like that you shy away of doing continuous balancing, and this statement of one of the Q&As simply was a confirmation for me. In my eyes, a massive multiplayer online game should be balanced every single patch. If something is OP, nerf it. If something is bad, buff it. Obviously, and this is something you said yourself, you cannot make an utopia where everything is perfect. Period. It's not possible, and I 100% agree on that thing. But then again, when you're saying that we don't want to change the meta or something like that, it's kind of awkward because you are able to change the meta. For example, right now we are in a heavium style meta where you should go aggressive and well play tanks which are fast into positions, go in a shootout, better DPM wins basically. You saw it in the clan rivals. It was very interesting because it took a lot of skill for the individual players and for the FC to keep an eye about anything. Most importantly, what was interesting was Cliff. There was so many shootouts and it was interesting to see. But then again, you said, oh yeah, the players will always find a meta. That's true. That's 100% true, because players will start to experiment and find out, oh, suddenly the STB1 actually has some, how should I say, impact into the game because it has great power to weight ratio, it has a great gun, great DPM, 13 degrees of gun depression. And suddenly this tank will be used more than something like a 907 even, which is kind of weird. But then again, you should not shy away of making changes. This is why, example, I personally said, hey, why not maybe think about removing Vents and Tank Gun Rammer completely from the game with Equipment 2.0, because not only would you change the meta completely, but you will also make it again more interesting, and suddenly you have a period of time where there is some uncertainty for the gamers, for the people. Sure, it can drive people away, but it can also get more people back, because suddenly it's a more unique experience, because suddenly many things are different and you have to experiment again. Is it useful to go for a completely ramming build, because DPM at the moment is not that important anymore? So yeah, that is the second point I personally just have a problem with, that Wargaming simply doesn't want to make the changes. And lastly, it's again tied to the 2-second things, is that it just feels like they are not sure yet how they want to nerf things or buff things in that matter. Like, maybe they're not sure how to nerf or buff the, well, not buff, but they're not sure how to nerf the EBR properly. Like, maybe they say, oh, we would just want to remove or make them slow when they get hit, but then again, suddenly they will become useless as soon as they get hit once. Because that's what they said. They want to make that if you hit their wheels, they will lose a lot of mobility quickly. But then you suddenly came up with the idea of the Polish medium tank, and I personally think it's a great idea that in its personal mobility mode, the accuracy is hugely shit. So why not try to introduce something like that for the EBR, so they have to kind of slow down a little bit if they want to be the snapshot gods. And again, when you are uncertain on one of the branches, one of the 5 branches you want to change, or excuse me, one of the 6 branches you want to change, then ship the other branches where you're already certain to do so. Again, if, for example, let's say in next month we are going to get the update 1.10, for example. Could be, you know, it could be that we get update 1.10 because I think they want to reserve the 2.0 name for equipment 2.0 or for crew 2.0 most likely, or for everything combined, who knows. And again, the same issue. It is a good idea to try to do both things together because they will interact with each other. But on the other hand, it could be a little bit too much and you suddenly break down again. Like, I can understand that it's insanely hard to keep an eye on everything you want to change. So you have to understand, and this is something I think a lot of people miss or underestimate, that they have to understand that what will go impact anything else. So I can understand that they want to ship equipment and crew 2.0 together because they are deeply linked together. Because at the moment, many players are just using crews which are trimmed for view range because you can pair them with vents or with optics to make to go to 445, to 460, 480, 510 meters of view range easily. So yeah. And lastly, there was one more thing which just sprung into my mind, which is also just something I simply do not understand. And this is like the biggest thing which I don't understand is, why do you shy away of balancing tanks like the 279 and the Chieftain as well as 907, etc. I today wanted to do a video about the Clan Wars, which is coming up in like 1 week. Obviously, I am a Clan Wars player, so I most likely have a different approach and a different view on this topic than most other people. However, one thing I still do not understand is I hardly know anyone in a competitive scene, from people from Fame, from Order Mortis, from Inwill, from all major top clans on the EU, which are against nerfing tanks like the Chieftain and the 279. I do not know how this position is in the Russian server. I personally do not want to sound like a nationalist or even a racist even, but I think, and this is the major issue here, is that Russian mentality is far different from Western mentality. I did got a video link to me from Klaus Kellerman where he talks about cheating, and for apparently, and I'm quoting him, for some Russian players, the joy of cheating is not to be the best in a game, but to not get caught. So if we apply this logic to overpowered tanks, it could be that many people find just joy in ruffle stomping and puppy stomping people in their Chieftains and 279s. Obviously, if you would remove those tanks or make them, not remove them, just nerf them a little bit down, for example, so it's more in line with Tech Tree counterparts. Sure, good players will still ruffle stomp, like the Super Conqueror is still an insanely strong vehicle, I saw it myself. Sure, it gets shied on by artillery, but it's still an insanely strong tank with an insane DPM and insane capabilities when it is driven by people which are actually good at the game, which I am not. So sure, those tanks will again be better, will be still on point with Chieftain 279. But then again, why do you shy back? Nobody asked for a 279 buff on the EU server as far as I know. I saw nobody being like, oh, it's so trash and I've worked so hard for it. Those tanks should be prestige vehicle and you should be happy to play them and feel a bit, hey, look at me, I got something special. Like, this is the main thing. This is why so many people are still calling out for the T22 medium to come into the bond shop or even as a Clan Wars reward tank. It is shit! But many people don't give a damn about it. They just want this tank because it's unique and something which is just like old in the game, you know? It doesn't matter that it doesn't really have anything special even. And this is like something I still do not understand. I guess it's just that they fear that some of the Clan Wars community in the Russian server at least will go insane for the Chieftain 279 getting nerfed. But again, over here I know so many people which say, hey, I don't mind these tanks to get nerfed for the better of the greater good. And this was also a discussion about Clan Wars, which we had, and I kind of want to keep that topic for another video about the Clan Wars campaign, but I kind of want to talk about it as well because it's tied to the Chieftain 279 stuff. Why exactly doesn't Wargaming, for example, say, hey, the basic front, there are no Chieftains, no reward tanks whatsoever allowed? Why could this be potentially a good change? Obviously, for example, a good clan will always ruffle, or in 95% of the cases will always ruffle stomp a worse clan when they have equal tanks. However, this idea of removing reward tanks for like the basic front isn't aimed at good or high top tier clans ruffle stomping lower tier clans or lower skill clans. It is aimed at the people, for example, when we have two clans of equal level and one clan already is longer into the game and potentially has some reward tanks like some Chieftains and some 279s, it will be incredibly hard for the newer clan, which is on the same skill level, to actually compete against this. Again, best example, Chieftain versus Super Conqueror. The Super Conqueror can penetrate another Super Conqueror around 50-60% of the time below the good gun mantlet on the turret ring. However, a Chieftain can do that as well, where meanwhile the Chieftain can only get penetrated by the cupola and nowhere near on the turret itself. So arguably, if you have to play Chieftains versus Super Conquerors, usually the Chieftains will always win because they have much better armor. Don't forget, it has also much better speed for no reason whatsoever. Yeah, sorry guys, it was a little bit of a chaotic video. It's just me a little bit rambling, but I hope I got the points over why I personally think Wargaming has a little bit of a broken understanding on balancing. Again, it's not an attack at Wargaming, it's just how I see it as an external person and sometimes getting a glimpse into how things are getting balanced as a CC, which I finally got the perk of. We'll see how Wargaming is reacting to that. If they are if my prediction is right and they're going to make a big balancing update with big marketing basically, or if they're going to drip feed us the balancing changes they are finally feeling happy with. Lastly, obviously Wargaming shouldn't forget, you should always balance. If after the update, for example the IS-4 becomes too strong, consider nerfing it again. You shouldn't leave anything as is. There has to be constant changes. Sometimes a big meta change can drive people away. On the other hand, it can get a lot more people back to the game. Like for example, if there will be a headline Chieftain and 279 and EBRs are getting nerfed, I think a lot of people will start to play the game again. Because those are many voices I see myself which just say, because of that shite, I do not want to play the game anymore. But again, that is my personal opinion. It was a little bit of a different video than we usually have. I still hope you enjoyed it, and you can let me know in the comment section below if you want to see more such talks about different things. I hope you didn't mind the less preparation. I just have some bullet points I wanted to talk about and then just freeballed it, because that's, in my opinion, the most not convenient but the most legit way of giving my information, because I don't have the time of just writing it down and search things up. It's just my personal opinion on that stuff. My name is RagingRaptor, thank you so much for watching, and I hope you had a great weekend, and if not, well, I hope this video made it a little bit better. Cheers guys.